Pulse School on RealAgriculture.com is brought to you by BASF.
Hey, Kara Oosterhuis here with RealAgriculture.com. We are back here today with another Pulse School episode, and I have here today with me Andrew Reed, who's a technical marketing specialist of herbicides with BASF. How is it going today?
It's going well. How are you today?
Great. It is hot out and things are rolling, so it's great to see. So we are here today to talk about herbicide efficacy and some of the key things producers need to keep in mind as they are headed into the spraying season.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of things that growers and applicators need to be aware of as we head into the applicator season and guys are jumping into the sprayer. But a lot of this, you got to remember before you jump in the sprayer, there's a few little things to pay attention to, like what product am I using? What stage is the crop at? What water volume am I really targeting? What weeds am I going after? What else do I want to throw in the tank? These are all the things that you need to consider before you jump into the sprayer and take off to the field.
So touching on water volumes, what sort of things do you, obviously it depends on each one, but where do producers go to find the proper information?
Well, the label is always your default, but a lot of times, unfortunately, those are written in odd units, like liters per hectare. So go to tech sheets, go to websites, utilizing call centers and calling in to ask. But as a general rule, more water equals better efficacy. And that's true of most herbicides. There's a few exceptions to that, but I would say that most, especially for pulses, in-crop herbicides, the more water you put in the tank, the more likely the herbicide is going to work to the best of its ability.
How can something like nozzle selection play into herbicide efficacy as well?
Well, a lot of it comes down to adequate coverage. So if you think of something like Viper, which has a contact product in it, to get adequate coverage, you have to make sure that you're using the right nozzle for the right water volume for the ground speed that you want to target, because you want to make sure you're getting the right droplet size, so you're getting good coverage to make sure that you're getting good weed control.
And can you touch a bit on weather as well and the impacts it has?
So weather is huge, and especially in pulses where we're using a lot of products that are based on imidazolinone chemistries or IMIs. They're based on the plant's metabolism. So the plant has to be growing for them to actually work. So if you have poor growing conditions, so if it's super hot or super cold outside, you're not as likely to see good efficacy. And you're also more likely to see injury on the crop itself. Something like field peas, it's just a natural metabolic-based tolerance to the IMI chemistries. If you have poor growing conditions, if you have cold nights, you can see a lot more injury start to show up, even though you've sprayed it at the correct timing or the correct staging.
And if producers are going out and they're scouting after they have sprayed, I mean, obviously following re-entry, but if they're going into the field and they're seeing there's maybe some difficulties with efficacy, what can they be doing? Can they be top dressing on lots of this, or is there dangers when it comes to our markets?
Well, any of the products that we have registered in crop, there's really no concern when it comes to our export markets. A lot of these products have been registered for a long time. Where some of the challenge has started to come up more so with exports has been with the pre-harvest market, which we're a little ways away from. But because we've still got our in-crop window, you have an opportunity to clean up any misses or clean up any challenges. But the key is to get out and take a look. Sometimes it can be a bit of a challenge if you've got a lot of acres to cover, but getting out, 10 to 14 days after application to make sure that herbicide is actually working. And it also gives you the opportunity to come in with a rescue spray if necessary, because a lot of times we get phone calls from growers where they say, well, I've sprayed, but the crop has already started to flower. And unfortunately, it's just too late at that point. Now you are waiting until harvest to try and clean those weeds up. So timely scouting is absolutely essential.
So when it comes to spraying your herbicides, what are some of the correct stages to be spraying for weeds when it comes to something like lentils or chickpeas or something like that?
So lentils are one that, especially if you're looking at clearfield lentils, they're very tolerant to those IMI-based chemistries. So that would be your Solos, your Odysseys. Please don't spray Viper on lentils. We get a phone call about that every year. It is not safe to spray on lentils. You will absolutely decimate your lentils if you spray Viper on them. But they're very, very tolerant to those IMI-based chemistries. So it's labeled up to the 9 node. And when we talk nodes, BASF typically, we talk about above ground nodes. We don't count scale nodes. So those first two scale nodes on peas and lentils, we don't consider those when we're talking staging. So when we say 1 to 9 above ground nodes, that does not count scale nodes. So you've got a fairly wide window on lentils. Peas are a little bit tighter. If you're looking at something like Viper, it's only 3 to 6 above ground nodes. So you've got a fairly limited window in there. So if you've got the choice between looking at peas and lentils, I would probably check your peas first, depending on staging, because you've got the tightest window to hit that application timing.
Okay, awesome. Is there anything else you'd like to add as far as efficacy goes when talking to producers across the prairies?
Probably the last thing that I will touch on, and this is true of most products, double check your tank mixes. We get a lot of questions every year, and I'm glad we do, about tank mixes with this, that, and the other thing, and anything under the sun. One general comment is we do publish some supported tank mix lists, so you can check with your local retailer, you can ask your local rep, and they should be more than willing to give that to you. If it's not on that supported list, the answer will likely be no. And usually for very good reasons. Some of these products just don't mix well. Sometimes if you start throwing other things in the tank, you're actually going to see a reduction in efficacy. So it's very, very important to double check and make sure that what you're throwing in the tank is actually going to be okay.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much.